lesson 206 in the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Here's the lesson. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. And then we hearken back to lesson 186. So this is a review of lesson 186, which is salvation of the world depends on me. And then Jesus' new commentary is, I am entrusted with the gifts of God because I am his son, and I would give his gifts where he intended them to be. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And this follows yesterday's lesson, which was lesson 205, I want the peace of God. And this really does follow because, when you say I want the peace of God, then what happens is, and you really mean I want the peace of God, then the means are given to you, right? You have to mean it, and then you get the means to have the peace of God. And what are the means? The gifts, right? You get the gifts of God, which is the knowledge, which is really, for us, is the course of how to restore our mind back to wholeness and ultimately to go home again. Ultimately, Jesus says in the manual, we read part of the manual yesterday, today's is probably going to be a shorter one. I would say listen to the one from yesterday, which I think is definitely a zinger in some ways, and today's is going to be maybe shorter and sweeter, but salvation of the world depends on me. In the manual it says really there's only one son, right? There's only one. Not only is there one son, but how many teachers of God are needed to save the world? And the answer is one, right? There's only one needed, because there really is only one. On the other hand, you are the one, right? I am the one too, but each of us is a microcosm of the macrocosm, right? We are in ourself. We are everyone and everything, and that speaks to the holographic nature of the universe and the holographic nature of the Course. Let me just say that I was once doing ayahuasca, and I had a very strong, I think I've had it other times too, but this one time I had a very strong sense that the whole universe was waiting on my decision, right? That everything really depended on my letting go, right? And it really had to do with my release, right? Release of my brother, release of fear, release of what was in the way. And that everything depends on that, right? And I think whether that's really true or not, I mean, it was certainly true in that moment for me. And it felt like everyone and everything was waiting for me, right? And it was a cosmic moment and a cosmic understanding that I was having. Now, whether that's really true or not, I think it's good to live as if that's true. That each choice you make has cosmic significance. You might not think it does, but it really does. And that each choice that you make is really bringing you closer, or it's taking you away, right? There's that saying, you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And that's what the Course is really getting at. There's no compromise with truth. You're either choosing ego, choosing fear, or you're choosing love, which would be the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, right? So whichever one you choose is somehow a cosmic decision that you have made. And is going to is going to have an impact on not only yourself but everyone and everything. Now, does it necessarily have an impact on the world? Well, I mean, that may be an open question, but it has an impact, you could say, on your spiritual awakening process. So I am entrusted with the gifts of God because I am his son, and I would give his gifts where he intended them to be. That means that you receive the gift of grace, and then you pass it on, right? You freely give what you have received, and remember that Jesus said, when you give what you have received, you don't lose anything, and actually you will gain even more, because when you give the gift that you have received, you understand, then you can really understand what the gift is, right? Because then you see that it really is true, it really does work, it really has immense power and value, and so it increases, right? And the way the world looks at gifts is that when I give something away, I lose, right? I'm lacking something because I've given something. I've given my time, or I've given something material, or I've given, and that's why giving is difficult for us, because we do it from an egoic place. We don't do it from a place of pure giving. And we can do that even with spirituality, right? We can give spiritual things, but there's strings attached. But what the gifts of God are there's no strings whatsoever, right? There's only the desire for the peace of God, right? So if you want the peace of God, there can be no strings attached there, right? There can be no ego that can get in the way for that to be true for you, right? You have to dissolve the ego. And in dissolving the ego, then the peace of God will remain, right? So what else can we say? We can maybe talk a little bit about yesterday's topic, which was, I think it's a perennial discussion in the world of A Course in Miracles, which is, how did A Course in Miracles really come to be? What role did Helen really play? Was she really hearing the voice of Jesus? But let me clarify something, that she really actually wasn't hearing anything. She says it wasn't normal audition. Like, she was not hearing a voice. She was receiving a message very quickly in her mind. It was not auditory. It wasn't like she was hearing something. What it was, she could not even describe it, really. And then the scribe could not describe what it was, which is interesting. She really, there's an audio on YouTube that you can listen to of Helen talking about it. And it's the only audio, I think, of Helen talking that is in existence, which is fascinating. But maybe there are other things out there, I'm not sure. But it's one of the few, at least, of Helen actually talking about A Course in Miracles. She was not a public person, and she definitely did not want really her name to be associated with A Course in Miracles. Not because she didn't think it was good, but because she wanted to keep it pure. And one thing that Ken Wapnick said about Helen, which I think is probably true, is that when it came to the Course, and in general, Helen had impeccable integrity. That means that she she was not being deceptive, or at least she was not being consciously deceptive in how she brought the Course to the world. I don't think Bill was either. I think they were about as good as you can get with people that were trying to do, follow the directions. You keep in mind, I think we all need to keep in mind that they didn't know where it was going. they didn't see the end of what it was going to be when they started. So of course, I'm sure there were things that were, if they knew that millions of people were going to be doing this, and that people were going to be really looking into every facet of A Course in Miracles and try to get at, what exactly happened, they probably would have been a little bit more meticulous in how they put it all together. But even so, they were meticulous. They were pretty meticulous about it. And there was material that was left out, but I think if you hold by that idea, which I think is probably true, that Helen really had impeccable integrity, then she really was trying to follow what the message that she was receiving, and she was trying to get herself out of the way, even though she was resistant, even though she wanted to change everything about the, she actually famously said, I want to change everything about this. Right? It did not conform to her way of thinking. It was not her thought system. She was very caught up in the ego and the things of the world. And so was Bill. And so when the Course came, it was, it was an upheaval. And Helen, I think came to really appreciate the Course and be proud of it. But she was also very resistant from the beginning, but she was also following. She was following the dictates of what was being dictated to her. And keep in mind that Jesus is not a dictator, but he's a kind and gentle dictator. I was trying to help her and Bill, and this Course was a way to help them. And then they realized this really is for everyone, because we are just a microcosm of the macrocosm. We're not different than anyone else. What we're experiencing in our relationship is what everyone experiences, right? The struggle, the power struggle, the ego struggle between two people that are living close to each other plays itself out in many, 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 many different ways on planet Earth, right? Who knows on other planets too? Maybe on other planets, but definitely on planet Earth, when you get two people living together, there's bound to be ego battles that take place. So Helen and Bill, with the help of Jesus, understood that this is not just for them. This really is for everyone. And so again, we need to keep in mind that they didn't know it was for everyone at first, right? Or maybe Helen did. I think Helen had an understanding. I just met someone the other night who, he's a real character, and he's also from New York. And he, on the surface, he has a real ego about him, and he has a whole persona. And he plays, as far as I can tell, he really knows a lot, but he plays like he doesn't know. And I think that was Helen. Helen really knew a lot. Like she was aware of a lot of things, but she played as if she did not know. And I think that was her ego persona. But deep down she knew, right? So I think in a way she understood the Course even before it came, right? She was going there already, and the fact that the Course came through her is because she already she was she was already there on some level, right? Otherwise, it really could not have come through her. So, was Helen, was Jesus, was Helen schizophrenic? We could ask that, and I'm sure people have talked about this. Was she just, was Jesus just another personality? Right? Was Jesus just that's a big discussion, and I think the bottom line with the Course, though, for me at least, and I will say this, that the Course is a great mystery. I don't think we're ever going to come to a solution or an answer to these questions, but I think the bottom line is, at least for me, is, does it work? Does it help? Is it useful? Is it helping me to live a better life in the dream, the happy dream, right? Is it helping me to be more kind, more considerate, more forgiving, more compassionate? If it is, then it's doing something, right? And if it's helping me to be free of fear, and free of guilt, and free of shame, and free of unworthiness, that's no small gift, right? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say, right? And these are the gifts of spirit. These are the gifts of God. These are the gifts of love. So carry on. So we'll carry on until we carry on no more. Rock on.